What's up YouTube, Crystal here. Another collection video for you. I had to break this in two. I was originally going to do this with my Faxed Head collection, but it was just going to be way too long. And kind of looking at these, it's going to be long for this one as well, so I'm just going to do them individually. Going to be looking at Godflesh today, and Godflesh are a really important band for me. One of the longest standing kind of favorite artists I've had. Started listening to them probably when I was about 14. I pretty much have liked them ever since. Not many bands that I can think of other than, you know, perhaps like Jesus Lizard that I have liked most of what they've done and liked them in high school and still like them today. There's a couple here and there, but definitely those are the big two for me. Really interesting about them, when I was in high school, I kind of was like friends with a lot of punk rockers, and I was friends with like a lot of people into industrial, and I was friends with a lot of people into metal. And every circle that I was in, they all hated Godflesh. The punks hated them because they were too metal-y. The industrial nerds, I'll blatantly call them, didn't like them because they were too metal. The metal dudes didn't like them because they were too industrial. So they never really fit into a category, which I think is actually why I like them, because I grew out of industrial, was never overly into punk, and I don't really like just kind of, you know, cut and paste heavy metal. So Godflesh, who are considered pioneers of like really heavy guitar-driven industrial music, just to me have been really special because they were pretty much the first ones to really do that on a mass market stage, really. I'm sure there's other that predate them, but no one really that is as well known, or, you know, I guess as big as they are, because they're really not that big or well known, really. So let's get into these. Their self-titled first LP, I guess. I can't say I know a heck of a lot about this record. It's definitely not one of my favorite albums. It's easy to listen to. I think it's good. I think it's maybe just a little bit too basic for me. Very heavy on the drum machine. Quite repetitive, as I recall. Kind of a frosty white, almost clear pressing here. Unfortunately, my album came in a lot worse condition than it was listed on Discogs where I bought it, so I did get a partial refund from the guy, but it does have some seam splits, and you can kind of see some blemishes and, you know, corner scrapes and stuff, but whatever, I got some of my money back. Decline and Fall, this is kind of their comeback. They broke up early 2000s, I believe it was, maybe late 90s, and they released this 4-track EP as kind of a comeback. It's okay, but what came after this that I'll get to later is amazing. So they made a really damn good comeback. This album's good. I can't say I've listened to it very much, and I can't say it's nearly as good as some other albums of theirs. This is just a standard black pressing. Hymns, this album's okay. One of their last albums before they broke up, as I recall. I could be wrong because I had never heard this until a couple years ago. It's saying 2000 in here, so maybe it was pre-breakup. Yeah, it must have been. This is on orange marbled vinyl, which looks cool because it definitely corresponds with the sparks on the cover. It's okay. I don't find it to particularly stand out in any genre or era, I should say, of Godflesh. It is hand numbered, or no, sorry, it's foil numbered. I've got number 280. You're not even going to see it, so I don't know why I'm showing you, but it is actually numbered vinyl. It's really not that rare, though. It is a more modern pressing. This is it. So I didn't even know Godflesh reformed until this album came out, and I started hearing a lot about it, a lot of reviews, like really critically acclaiming it. And I was kind of like, wow, I had no idea Godflesh were back together. I started reading into them, and then I found about Decline and Fall as well. I was like, wow, that's really cool. Not only are Godflesh back, but they've released a few records. I listened to this, and it blew my socks off. I couldn't believe it. I have to say I was a bit cynical. I was thinking it was basically just all these like millennial 90s kids like, oh my god, Godflesh were cool in the 90s and they just re-released an album, so it's gotta be awesome, which unfortunately I see a lot. Okay, this is my black pressing. I'm not going to really show the record, but there's some creasing in the bottom, unfortunately, but this is my red version. The jacket is in pretty good shape, and it is on translucent red, which looks pretty cool. But yeah, I remember seeing the reviews, and I was like, okay, it's either like nostalgic 90s kids that are just gonna like, like real 90s kids that are just gonna say every album from any band from the 90s released today is awesome, or they broke up and now they reformed so it's awesome, or millennial kids pretending to be 90s kids saying how great these albums are because they were big in the 90s or whatever. But I ended up listening to it, and yeah, I was really blown away. It is by far their heaviest, their highest production, their best musicianship. It's dark, it's haunting, it is heavy as hell. I would say that's like their heaviest record they've released. Such an awesome album. If you are into Godflesh and you have not heard this yet, do yourself a favor and check it out. This was kind of where I lost track with Godflesh. When is this from? Is this 95, 96? I remember absolutely hating this record when it came out. It was just like, and it is, when you listen to it now, it definitely sounds dated. It has this really cheesy mid to late 90s kind of jungle drumming, like, I don't know, kind of hip-hop jungle drums and stuff that's just laughable. Even then, I absolutely hated it, and now I can handle a few tracks on here more than I used to be able to, but some of the stuff in here sounds really badly dated. This is on gold vinyl, which is kind of cool. I ordered this directly from Earache. It was actually a pretty good price. I'm glad I have it. There's a few good tracks in here, and the colored vinyl's cool, but it's really not a good record. I know a lot of people who also consider this, one of the worst Godflesh albums. Us and Them is widely considered to be their worst, but I'm really not that familiar with it. This is what started it for me. Selfless. This would have come out mid to early 90s, 94, and that's right when I was into heavy music, industrial music, maybe a little bit later, maybe 95. But yeah, I heard this album and it was like, wow, this just changed everything for me. I know I say that a lot, but this is really a game changer for me. This album blew me away. I listened to the CD in the 90s and early 2000s so much I literally wore it out. Just checking. Okay, so I do have a black version here, but this is my quote-unquote Imperial Blue, which is a track off the album Imperial. I believe that's how it's pronounced. But yeah, I listened to this over and over and over and over and over in high school, college, even, recently. But although I admit I've been more into A World Lit Only by Fire nowadays. But yeah, this is still such to me, a really important record for kind of metal industrial crossover. Their earlier stuff definitely sounds very industrial, whereas this kind of just sounds more like a really brutal maybe repetitive, I will admit, but this is definitely more on the metal side, in my opinion. Metal with a, you know, kind of kick-ass drum machine. Unfortunately, the CD I had in high school had a bonus track, Go and Spread Your Wings, I believe it was called, that doesn't appear on this, unfortunately, because it was an awesome track. It was like 20 minutes long or something, but it was just so dark and long and progressive and so heavy. But still, this is a great record. Last one, Street Cleaner. A lot of people consider this to be their favorite Godflesh album, and I wouldn't argue with them because this is really damn good. I'd say after A World Lit Only by Fire and Selfless, this is my next favorite. This is early. I don't think it's their first album or first LP, but it's definitely one of their earliest ones. 89. Wow, this is aged so damn well. Nice clear pressing that I also again got directly from Earache. Man, this is so awesome. Street Cleaner. ISIS did an amazing cover of Street Cleaner, which is actually how I found ISIS, and I love them to today still. But this is a really great record. I'm not really going to get into the tracks too much because I'm not as familiar with this, nearly as familiar as some of the other records, but Street Cleaner, heavy, brutal. 1989, that's so awesome. Stuff wasn't being made like that then. Anyways, Godflesh, all-time favorite band for me for sure. Be sure to check them out if you haven't. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I have so many more videos to do, so much more in my collection. Be sure to stay tuned for that, and I'll see you around again soon.